Welcome back to another episode of The Cold Cut. Today we'll be diving into the question on how police investigations and the lack of evidence can lead to a cold case. With me are Olivia Hong and Natasha Lee to help dive into today's episode. My name is Hannah Davidson, and you're watching The Cold Cut Eyes on Them podcast. In today's podcast, we'll be focusing on the case of Amy Mihaljevic. However, before we dive into this case today, I would like to thank James Renner, a journalist and private investigator on this case, for giving us the opportunity to interview him. So Amy Mihaljevic was a 10-year-old girl living in Bayville, Ohio. Her entire life changed when she got a phone call from an unknown man, claiming that her mother had gotten a work promotion and that he wanted to take Amy out to the nearest shopping center, just a block away from her school, to pick out a gift. After that day, Amy was never seen again until 2 months later by a jogger on the side of the road, severely decayed. She was found with 2 knife wounds in her neck, beaten, and sexually assaulted. So like Olivia had mentioned in a previous episode, most of the potential evidence that could have been helpful for investigators and forensic examiners was taken by the perpetrator. Some of these items include turquoise horse earrings, a black folder, and Amy's windbreaker and a school backpack. Investigators also claim that this was a sex crime that took place because of the fact that Amy was a targeted victim, specifically selected by a man with sexual intent. There was also clear behavior patterns that investigators found that make this a sex crime seen through other serial killers and just killers in general. It's not unusual for this type of criminal to keep a memento of his crime as a trophy of his success.
Do many criminals commit sex crimes usually keep these little trophies?
Yes, actually. Like I said before, the FBI has also said that they see enough of these cases where the offender keeps the items from the victim. And like we learned in psychology, this is a way to remember the act they committed or to keep a piece of the victim close to them. And a lot of this has to do with control.
Investigators also found a white blanket and an olive green curtain 300 yards away from the body.
Yeah, and actually, investigators were able to determine that the curtain was not factory made since the tabs on the top were not equal in size and distance. So it was like someone took a giant quilt or a cover on a bed of a hotel and made it into a curtain. However, investigators don't have enough information, like we have stated previously, to determine where this thing was before it was wrapped around Amy's body. And unfortunately, DNA technology is not advanced enough to determine the DNA, who it belongs to, because of such little evidence investigators have found on the curtain and the blanket. However, the current detective on this case, Detective Elish, said in an interview in October of 2024 that in the next 6 months to a year, DNA technology will become advanced enough to finally determine who the offender is.
So you talked with James Renner. Was his opinion on the FBI involvement in this case?
Mm-hmm. So like you had said before, Mr. Renner had said that the FBI had made some serious mistakes early on in the investigation. He said that, quote, "The lead agent believed he knew who did it and wouldn't look for other suspects for the first few months she was missing. He was ultimately proved wrong, but by then they had lost a lot of time. I think the police has also made a huge mistake not releasing the information and the strange curtain that was used to wrap up her body. If they had shown that on the news in 1989, someone might have recognized it," end quote. So a major problem that the police made was sticking to one subject. This not only allowed more time to be wasted in the investigation process, but it also allowed for the offender to slip away unnoticed.
What would James Renner say to someone who hasn't come forward, who knows something about this case?
Well, the police want to hear from anyone who may know something about this case, and you can go to their website if you know any detail, anything small, and click on the form and fill this out. James Renner had said that the detectives know much more than the general public, of course, so maybe that person can't see how this piece of information they have will connect, but it will make sense to the police. So it would be better to call in just to be sure. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. If you know anything significant about this case, even something small, reach out to the police or FBI because you may be the solution to solving this case. And remember to check out our website, linked below in the description, and tune in into our next episode. We will also be having, connected to the Amy Mihaljevic case, a criminal profiler and forensic linguistic who worked on the Unabomber case. His name is James Fitzgerald, and we are doing a Zoom interview with him about procedural work on cases with child abduction. Thank you so much.